A young man once asked Charlie Munger for help with investing and increasing his wealth. The young man said that he was having trouble getting started and wasn't growing rich as quickly as he wanted. Charlie Munger then replied, "The first 100,000 is a but you got to do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." But why is the first $100,000 so difficult? Why is getting your first $100,000 even harder than getting from $100,000 up to $1 million? The math behind this is actually quite surprising. So let me show you guys in this video how you can get to a $100,000 net worth quicker than your friends. Let's consider a hypothetical scenario that could represent you. Suppose there is an investor who invests $10,000 per year and the investment grows at a rate of 4% annually. And yes, I'm only using 4%, even though most people assume you could probably yield around a 10% growth rate yearly. It may not be realistic for the long term, even though the stock market has performed at that rate over the last 20 and even 50 years. But using our 4%, which is very modest, it would take about 8 years and 7 months to reach your first $100,000. But it would only take 6 years and 3 months to reach your next $100,000, assuming that you keep the exact same investment of $10,000 per year and 4% investment returns. So in this graph right here, you can see the growth in just a few years. For example, when a portfolio reaches $1 million, even 100 grand comes way faster. Our investor, aka you or me, adds the same amount every single year, but their current money works while they sleep to bring in more cash quicker and quicker. Check this out. It took 8.58 years to get the first $100,000, but it only took 7 years to go from 700,000 to $1 million. That's 3 times the amount in less time because there was more money there. This shows just how incredible compound interest is over time. You might think that it's odd that reaching 300,000 is actually halfway to $1 million. Think about this. In our example, from $0 up to $300,000 takes 20 years. But then $300,000 all the way up to $1 million takes another 20 years. Now I gotta be honest, that is some mind-blowing stuff. Halfway to $1 million in terms of compound interest is actually only 300,000. So what's the deal with all this? I wanted to make sense of why reaching $100,000 in this milestone is so crucial, and I came up with 3 main reasons why this happens. Number 1 is exponential growth. Number 2 is portfolio size. And number 3 is a little bit of a secret you'll want to stay to the end of the video to hear. First, exponential growth. Let's make this easy to understand. Imagine you invest $6,000 every year for 40 years, and it grows at a rate of 6% each year. After 40 years, you'd have almost $1 million. You'd have $968,658. That's not bad. You're a millionaire by year 40, and this is not assuming that you did anything other than put in that money each year. And that's of course not all the money you'd be making each year. But here's the catch. Let's say you doubled your investment each year. You'd think if you doubled your investment to $12,000 a year, you could get there twice as fast in probably half the time, 20 years. But that's not the case. That would only yield you about $449,472, assuming again the 6% return on your investments. So doubling the amount you put in doesn't have the time to get there. That's why hitting your first $100,000 matters so much. It helps your money grow faster later on. Start early so you can enjoy that sweet exponential growth in the future as you're continuing to build your wealth. Picture it like this. Linear growth is just a straight line because you keep adding the same amount over time. But that's boring. Exponential growth, however, is amazing. Your initial amount increases by the same percentage every time, and at first things might be a little slow, but eventually that curve gets steeper and steeper until boom, at the end of your curve, you're seeing massive gains year over year. This happens because you're earning interest on interest. The bigger your total amount gets, the more interest you'll earn. So for people like you and me in their early 20s, saving as much money as possible within reason and putting it into investments early on is going to pay off massively in 10, 20, 30 years. Point number 2, portfolio size. The second key factor in expediting your road to $100,000 and beyond is the size of your portfolio. The bigger your investment, the bigger your wins and losses are going to be. For example, With a 5% return on a $1,000 portfolio, you'd make $50 in each year. But with the same 5% return on a $100,000 portfolio, you'd get $5,000 each year. Over several years, that starts to snowball into much bigger numbers as you earn the same percentage on much higher numbers year over year, thanks again to compound interest. So in this example, that $5,000 of interest now becomes $5,250 after the first year. Your interest of $5,000 earned an additional $250 of interest on your interest. You're just going to be earning interest on interest on interest constantly while you sleep and do absolutely nothing other than what you are already doing at your job. At the end of 5 years, your initial $100,000 becomes a whopping $127,628. As where if you only started with $1,000 in your portfolio, it would only be $1,276. So you either earn 27,000 interest or 276 over 5 years. So once again, after point number 2, saving early, putting your investment up front early is probably the best way to grow compound interest over time. Now let's talk about the third point of hitting $100,000, the intangible benefits for investors. To reach that $100,000 milestone, you must build great financial habits. But here's the thing, people don't like change, and they tend to stay in their comfort zones that generally don't allow them to learn and grow as an individual, and that often limits their earning potential as well. To make progress and break this cycle of comfort, it's essential to embrace change. Otherwise, we get stuck with the same old stuff. So you want to think about these 6 habits and behaviors you're going to develop on your way to 100,000. Some of these are much easier said than done, but believe me, if you stick with it, you can do all of these things. First, budgeting is vital for financial stability. By tracking your income and your expenses, a budget helps control your monthly spending and invest your money wisely. It also ensures that you focus on long-term financial goals. For example, you may elect to save and invest 15 to 20% of your income so that you can keep working towards your financial goals. But the key here is you really must examine your expenses closely. By striving to save money and invest that money, you need to reevaluate your spending habits, which includes your lifestyle and your priorities. To achieve this, considering some of the following things: evaluate your phone contract, ensure you're actually using all of your entertainment subscriptions like Netflix or Hulu, try to cook meals at home instead of doing Uber Eats or DoorDash, see if there are options for more affordable housing or renting a house that is not going to break the bank each month, or consider driving a fuel efficient vehicle. One of the things I like to do is instead of going out and eating and spending $100 on the Uber and the drinks and the meal, try to eat something before you go and limit your drinks to only drinking when you really want to. Small lifestyle changes can significantly impact how fast you save your first $100,000. Secondly, income. Do not disregard the financial effects of small recurring expenses as they accumulate over time. Another advantage of aiming for the $100,000 mark is the motivation to increase your income. Compounding interest has a limited impact when dealing with smaller amounts of capital. Once you've minimized your expenses and worked on your budget as much as possible, it's time to find creative ways to increase your income since your earning potential is truly unlimited. If you've hit a ceiling at your current job, you could consider switching to a same or similar position at a new company where you're likely to get a pay raise. Or you could take up a secondary job after normal work hours in whatever field you specialize in, with job sites like Upwork or Indeed. If you're feeling more ambitious, you can roll your skill sets into a side hustle and start your own business outside of your normal job. Number 3, consistency and discipline. To hit a $100,000 goal, you'll have to make many contributions, and you'll want to make sure that you're able to do so consistently. Whether that's monthly, quarterly, or yearly, set an investing schedule that works with your budget and stick to it. Luckily, habits become hard to break once they're established. Number 4, financial education. Over time, you're going to grow more and more interested in stocks and whatever other kind of investments you choose to do. Progress is by far the best motivator. And I personally think that finance is similar. Once you see that compound interest start to kick into gear and see your money making money while you sleep, your net worth will grow and you'll become even more interested and committed to keeping those numbers on the rise. Next, market fluctuations. As an investor with a long-term stock portfolio, it's important to understand that market fluctuations are common. These fluctuations can temporarily decrease your portfolio's value, but staying patient and not panicking during these periods is crucial. Many investors, especially new ones, become overly concerned when they see their stocks declining in value, which leads them to sell in fear. However, if the stock was initially a good investment and you've done your research on it, its fundamentals are strong and they remain strong, it's important to recognize these temporary dips as short-term market noise or even chances to accumulate more shares. If you look at the S&P 500 over the last 40, 50, 60 years, it highlights numerous instances of price drops, yet the overall trend remains positive. When you begin investing, it's natural to pay attention to each market fluctuation. However, as you gain experience, you'll come to accept that markets may move for absolutely no apparent reason. In order to reach that big $100,000 milestone faster, you want to do the following things: maintain a budget, invest consistently, acquire financial knowledge, which you can do by watching my other videos, learn to cope with market fluctuation, decrease expenses, and increase income. Once you reach the $100,000 mark, you'll likely continue growing your wealth using these habits. After achieving the initial $100,000 target and continuing to invest wisely, your money will compound over time. So don't be discouraged if saving your first $100,000 takes longer than you anticipate, because it's usually the most challenging step. Just like Charlie Munger said, keep pursuing it, and once you cross that point, the journey will get easier. And guess what? Your journey to $100,000 can even be accelerated faster by hitting that like button and subscribing to see my other finance videos. We'll see you guys next time. Take care.